Who is the best Batman? Who's the worst?
Top 5. Bottom 5. Batman.
Over 80 years, the Batman, created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger in 1939 for Detective Comics, has become more than just a comic book superhero, ubiquitous in TV, film, animated series, video games, and you name it, merchandise. This top 5, bottom 5 list starts in 1943, when Batman made the leap to film. And I rank every live action and animated Batman from that point, and tease out the best 5 actors who have brought the Dark Knight to life, and the worst 5 who are not doing the Batman any justice. And what would his league be without any justice? Before all the shouting starts, this is the criteria I applied across the board. How cool is the car, the cave, the cowl, the cape, the visage, the physique in that suit that makes nuns' panties explode? Remember, it's about the Batmen themselves, not the movies they are featured in. So, the final criterion, and the most important, imagine if this vigilante did exist in this real world. If you are kidnapped in the trunk of a car, or being chased by a maniac with a chainsaw, or being beaten to death in a carjacking, who do you want coming to your rescue? Let's begin with the 5 worst Batmans.
5.
At number 5, Adam West from the TV series Batman 1966 to 1968. And 1966's Batman the movie. Sure, we love him, I love him, you love him. For 3 seasons and endless reruns, Adam West was a part of our childhood. Campy, funny, bat-tastic, with his ambiguously hetero boy wonder, his well-labeled Batcave, and his Batmobile, the archetype from which all other Batmobiles stole their action lines. And boy, did he do a mean Batusi. The Shagadelic Knight. But was he anywhere near Kane's and Finger's original vision of the Night Stalker who shot down criminals in cold blood? The producers of the series specifically skewed Batman away from the dangerous comics outlaw and made him suitable for ages 12 and under, with those painted-on eyebrows and wearing his underpants on the outside of his cotton cozies. So, though he was our TV babysitter, and though it took us 10 years to realize there was another level of tongue-in-cheek snark that we had missed the first time around, is this comedy cupcake the idealized vision of the dread Batman?
4.
As we count down to the worst Batman, at number 4 is David Mazouz from TV's Gotham, 5 seasons from 2014 to 19. The good writing and directing on this series can't save this miscast Batboy, as we follow 13-year-old Mazouz from being orphaned in an alley to his first appearance as Gotham's protector. In the final frame of the last episode, Mazouz appears in ill-fitting Batman garb, looking like someone from Mystery Men with a bath towel tied around his neck. The pubescent knight. The closest analog to this series structure is Smallville teasing Superman. But David is no Tom Welling, whereas Welling's physicality and screen presence sold his nascent superhero. No matter how much Gotham's writers try to ignite a detective spark in this pube knight, throughout the series, the poor boy just doesn't take to the role, especially when asked to grow from a 13-year-old into a 29-year-old in the space of 4 years real time, with a brooding glare as threatening as a My Little Pony. He's a nice guy, so good luck to you, David. You've got this legacy role to come back to. I'm looking forward to seeing him in 20 years' time after he learns how to grow hair on his body, donning the cowl again and kicking all our asses.
3.
Number 3, George Clooney from 1997's Batman and Robin, The Wag Night. Why does he waggle his head like that when he speaks? It's not that director Joel Schumacher intentionally leaned toward a comic book elan and put a disco ball in the Batmobile's engine. Night fever? It's Clooney's performance, or lack thereof, for which he shouldn't shoulder all the blame. Surrounded by the cardboard cutout mulings of Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, Chris O'Donnell's one-dimensional Robin, and Alicia Silverstone's blonde-dimensional Batgirl, Clooney could not get a bat hold on any kind of substance here, going around only half-jokingly apologizing for killing Batman. But there's a bright side.
I wore a rubber suit with giant rubber nipples, and I still have a career.
2,
At number 2, Robert Lowery, The Drab Knight. The second ever Batman on film in 1949's Columbia serial Batman and Robin. Only minimally better than his predecessor, Lewis Wilson, Lowery's cape was blacker, his panties lower, and his Robin dumber. His cowl with the incorrectly placed eye holes added a new fighting move to his arsenal of punching crooks in hats called adjusting my shit. His Bruce Wayne is a lazy carouser, and I don't think he's a millionaire, as his house looks like it's next door to Jerry Mathers as the Beaver. There's a Batcave, which he calls his crime lab, but there's no Batmobile, with Batman and Robin changing in the back of their big car, like band guys in a men's room. Not the toilets again. His utility belt can hold outlandishly large things that appear out of nowhere like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. We can't blame the first proponents of the Bat too much. Back then, how could Lowery know he was doing anything but a cheap kid's comic book character that would be forgotten by the time he adjusted his cowl?
1,
And number 1, the worst Batman, Lewis Wilson, the first ever Batman on film. Bob and Bill were still blowing on their artwork to dry the ink when this caped crusader hit the silver screen in 1943's Columbia serial The Batman, just 4 years after DC Comics premiered the superhero in 1939. Before anyone had figured how dread or dark night this detective could be, and before Wilson could hit the gym. The Flab Knight. Referred to as a government agent to avoid the thorny ambiguity of vigilantism, with eye holes too far apart to accommodate his fat head, panties hiked up to his nipples, and a utility belt that just screams Martha Stewart and some leftover aluminum foil. Wilson's Batman lumbers into fistfights with the grace of a doughy bus driver, aided by a piss boy who seems to love getting punched in the face by men. Wilson's Bruce Wayne is a soporific playboy, lounging around his hilltop mansion and accessing the Batcave by squeezing his bulk through a grandfather clock, hoping that the crime he's changing for isn't urgent. Released during World War II, the serial was a racist dig at the Japanese and made Batman a racist as well. No Batmobile, just a big black car, one car, that Bruce's girlfriend notices is also being driven by Batman. Putting 2 and 2 together just wasn't on the cards back then. It was the era of theatrical acting, where strongmen were just normal-looking guys with a little bit more bicep, where movie-making techniques and on-camera performance were totally different animals. We can't expect the very first iteration of a character to be anywhere near perfection. Yet, I never want this Batman rescuing me. If anything, I'll have to pull his tubby bat ass out of the burning building. And what about Vampire Bat Robert Pattinson, slated for 2021's The Batman? Well, in the 5 stages of Batman grief, we have denial that the current actor is leaving, anger that he was the best Batman ever, bargaining to replace whoever the new guy is, depression that the Hollywood studio is ignoring your outraged tweets, and acceptance after seeing the film. Remember how people hated Mr. Mom, not Keaton, too much like a comic book, not enough like a comic book, Jennifer Lopez's girlfriend, and then the performances and the recants. The only modern screen Batman who would never garner any retrospective worship was George Clooney. They're still talking about his nipples. In the 5 stages of Batman grief, fans, are at the bargaining stage with Pattinson. So it will take a while before we can judge him with any clarity. But are people having conniptions over casting of the Batman or Bruce Wayne? You see, once the actor gets in the muscle suit, it's a 50-50 chance we're watching a stuntman beating down henchies. So the fans' concern is really about how the actor sells his brooding Bruce, with nothing to hide behind except an Armani suit. But this list, it's not about Bruce Wayne, just something to think about the next time you're being a whiny little bitch on Twitter. Hey movie maniacs, before we start the countdown to the top 5 Batmen, I've got to mention the incredible Batman artwork in this video. All the Batman caricatures you're seeing were done by cartoonist and illustrator Tom Richmond. In addition to his great illustrations of Batman, Superman, Doctor Who, Dracula, and countless other iconic imagery, Tom offers books, prints, original art, and workshops on caricature and illustration. You can find it all on his website, tomrichmond.com. Check him out. In my countdown of caricaturists, he's number 1. Cheers, Tom. Batman Top 5.
5.
At number 5, Kevin Conroy, who has played Batman more than any other actor on Earth. Starting with Batman, the animated series in 1992, which IGN rated the best comic book television show of all time. Renowned as the voice of Batman in the DC animated universe, Conroy has starred in over 26 animated productions, many of them series featuring numerous episodic appearances. It's not just the body of work, it's the soul that Conroy imbues his dread knight. A terse baritone who brooks no nonsense. Though many voice actors have portrayed Batman, Reno Romano, Jeremy Sisto, William Baldwin, honorable mention goes to Peter Weller in Frank Miller's monolithic The Dark Knight Returns in 2012. Soaring alongside Weller with 3 animated features to his credit, another honorable mention to Will Arnett's cute Lego Batman who can kick all our asses. Because he's Batman. But to this date, no rasp comes within sonar flying distance of Kevin Conroy's legacy. Because he's the animated Batman.
4.
Counting down to the best Batman, at number 4 is Val Kilmer in 1995's Batman Forever. Director Joel Schumacher took over from Tim Burton and camped it back to Adam West levels. Yet Kilmer took it as seriously as when he brought justice to Tombstone just 2 years earlier, cutting a dashing, callous Bruce Wayne and a slick, pointy-eared bat, with distinctive lip structure and a Batmobile more penis-shaped than ever, ribbed for her pleasure. And besides a couple of cringy jokes, chicks dig the car, the writers actually put some heft into Batman's psychological duality, making his journey one of finding equilibrium between vengeful orphan and judicious vigilante. But then, abandoned amongst the eye-raping colors and disco ball shenanigans of Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face and Jim Carrey's Riddler, Batman would end up having to find the equilibrium between Nicole Kidman trying to act while having an orgasm and Chris O'Donnell trying to act.
3,
Number 3. Michael Keaton in Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, arguably the movie that kicked off the modern era of DC and Marvel superhero tentpoles. The complex Batman.
My life is really, complex.
Returning for the 1992 sequel, Batman Returns, and rumored to be in the 2022 Flash movie, I know that Keaton is nostalgically number one for many of us who cut our teeth on his Cupid bow lips. Keaton brought an absent-minded gravitas to Bruce Wayne and a simmering anger to his Man-Bat, even though he couldn't turn his head, which is why he never did the Batusi. And that ultra-distinctive lip structure emulated on Batman merchandise from that moment forward. All the familiar symbology was established in classical rendition. The emblem, the Batmobile, the Batarang, the Butler. And this Batman became so beloved because fans thought Keaton was going to misfire. Even Bob Kane hated the choice. And in real life, we vicariously loved that Mr. Mom proved an everyman could become a Superman.
2,
Number 2. Christian Bale in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, from 2005's Batman Begins to The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Resurrecting Batman from Schumacher's fruit bat circus, his Bruce a hedonistic playboy, his Bat a trained ninja, and his Rasp, swear to me, making us wet 'em. His Batmobile, the jagged offspring of a Hummer and an F-14 Tomcat, a 360-degree bat bike, state-of-the-art computer software, a costume that developed into a fierce cataclysm of beat-down power, and a cast to move mountains. Kane, Freeman, Oldman, Neeson, Watanabe, Hardy, Gyllenhaal, Eckhart, and Heath Ledger to damn us all to hell. With Bale's beefy Bat Knight, our psyches journey deep into Batman's duality as protector and lawbreaker, and how the hero and his nemesis are but two sides of the same damaged coin. No more punching crooks with hats or colorful cartoonish characters. Class warfare, terrorism, and international espionage was gluttoned like blood sausage. And with Bale's Batman alone do we feel the paradox that only a city overseen by a caped vigilante would be prone to inspire villains as flamboyant as its protector. That all this supercrime might be the fault of the superhero. Bale is truly the most complete Batman on all fronts, physical to visual to cerebral. So why isn't he number one? Because times are changing. For the worse.
1,
Number 1. Ben Affleck's bulked up, battle-scarred Batman in 2016's Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Justice League. When the city is under siege, we're not gonna call this guy or this guy. It's gonna be this guy with lats like banquet trays and thighs like redwoods. When the faux Batman, Big Daddy, marauded his way through a warehouse of henchmen in Kick-Ass, kicking, killing, shooting, dismembering with extreme prejudice, I shouted to the movie gods, "This is what a modern Batman should be." And lo and behold, Affleck, savaging his foes in the name of justice. Because that's how the world works these days. Violence to turn back violence. There is no more meeting hate with love when dealing with emotionless sociopaths. No more talking with inarticulate drogues. No more reasoning with unreasonable demagogues. If our legal system goes down, which it will any day now, and if vigilantism becomes a thing, which it will any day now, the people's protector that I want patrolling the streets, the brutal outlaw with no more shits left to give, is this ferocious Batman. He may be the best combat Batman hands down, but let's face it, he didn't get the opportunity, like Bale, to expand his character over any starring films. Yet, there are precious moments that capture characterization, indicating his world is bigger than just punching. Like that empathy toward Flash in Justice League, when Flash is fearful of entering a fight and Batman says, "Save one." It is more of a connection than any interaction he's had with any Robin. Here was a veteran warrior hearing a boy's desire to help, colliding with his fear on how to start, and giving him a way in. And a spark of moralism when a grizzled, exhausted Bruce tells Alfred,
"We're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals. Nothing's changed."
These moments and others like them point the way to Affleck embracing the dark depths that Bale supped like a honey badger. And Affleck's machinery is the coolest high-tech Batuzela. From his battle-axe plane to his bladed Batmobile, his batarangs razor-sharpened for maximum artery severance, his bulletproof costume and cowl all gray, black, and chainmailed, voice modulator as grizzled as his 3-day growth, PTSD, orphaned morals, and ripped like a bridge cable. And if your mother's name is Martha, he will save the shit out of you. I guess it's the times we live in that made me choose Ben over Bale. When journalists are terrorized, when old men are practically killed in the street, when a cop puts his knee on a man's neck, when I'm thrown into the back of a police wagon during a peaceful protest with pepper spray etching into my face. You know who I want landing on top of that unmarked van, denting its reinforced steel roof and rescuing me from the illegal federal cowards who call themselves police? I don't want this guy or this guy. I don't even want this guy. When the thugs take over the streets, I want the darkest of Dark Knight detectives to bring down the battering ram. Ben Affleck may not be the hero you love, but he is the Batman we need. So there you have it, movie maniacs. Top 5 Batmen: Kevin Conroy, Val Kilmer, Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck. Bottom 5 Batmen: Adam West, David Mazouz, George Clooney, Robert Lowery, Lewis Wilson. You know, I could be wrong,
But you know I'm right.